Hi there, and welcome to Computer Science 30S. This is lesson 1 of Liberty Basic, and we're going to be spending a few minutes in this lesson reviewing some string functions from grade 10. So just a reminder of string variables. They hold strings of characters. Generally, most variables are numeric variables, hold numbers, but you can hold strings. Scratch and BYOB and any other version that you would be using of Scratch will not differentiate between a string variable and an integer variable, but many languages do. So characters are letters of the alphabet, A through Z. They are also the digits, the non-numerical versions of those digits. Other symbols like commas and decimals and less thans and greater thans and question marks and so on are all considered to be string characters. So here's something that you might remember from 20S. You want to pause the video and type it in. It says input, please type your name string. Print, it's nice to meet you, and it will return your name to you. Remember, in BASIC, when you want to store characters in a variable, you end the variable name with a $sign, and this makes it a string variable. And many other languages do this as well. They differentiate between the different types of variables, and we'll have different ways of differentiating them. This particular language, BASIC, uses the $sign. Note that a string can have 0 characters. Such a string is often called an empty or null string. In BASIC, an empty string can be expressed in a string literal as 2 quotation marks without any characters between them. So just like this, name string equals quotation, quotation, and it really means that it is nothing. It's not a blank space. It's actually literally nothing. So what can you do with strings? You might remember some of this. Just as you can manipulate numbers in a computer programming language by adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing, and more, of course, we can also manipulate strings. And the simplest one from that is adding strings, which is also known as to concatenate. When you concatenate strings, you put them together. In Scratch, it's the join feature. So to concatenate or add 2 or more strings together in BASIC, you would do it like this. So here's an example. Input, what is your first name string. What's your last name string. And then if you said full name string is equal to first name string plus a space, there's an example of the space, not the null string, plus last name string, and then printed out full name string, you would get your full name. You have added those 2 strings together, first name and last name string. If you'd like to take a moment at this point and pause the video and try that, that would be a good idea. Okay, we can also compare strings with each other, just as you can compare numbers. This means that you can use the if-then statement and the equals, not equals, less than, greater than, less than or equal to, or greater than or equal to operators to determine if A is equal to B, A string is equal to B string, or A string is not equal to B string, or A string is less than B string, and all those different combinations down there. If A string is greater than B string, it means that it comes later in alphabetical order. So you can use this to alphabetize your strings, words in a dictionary type of thing. When comparing strings, a string is considered to be equal to another string when all the characters in one string are exactly the same. They must be exactly the same. This means that even if they both print the same on the screen, they can still be unequal if one has an invisible space on the end and the other one doesn't. And I have an example of that here. In the example below, when the line if A string equals B string is performed, the result is to print the not the same, since there is a hidden space at the end of B string. So you'll notice here that A string is capital H, hello. B string is capital H, hello, but there's a subtle hidden space right here. And so they are not equal. You can try to type that in if you like and see how that works. So here's some of the string commands that you learned in 20S, and I'll introduce you to some new ones as well. The len function counts the number of characters in a string. The expression inside the parenthesis must either be a string literal or a string variable, so you could have something like A string or B string or name string or some variable name in there, or you could actually have a string of characters with quotation marks, like the dog is brown in quotation marks. The result returned is a number. Can be used in any mathematical expression. So for example, here if name string equals Bob Jackson, and then you asked for the length of Bob Jackson, name string, len of name string, you would get 11, because there are 1, 2, 3, 4 is the space, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 characters in Bob Jackson with the space in the middle. Other string commands to learn: left string, mid string, right string, word string, trim string, CHR string, ASC, val, upper string, lower string. Upper string and lower string convert the string contained in the brackets into upper or lower case, which is sometimes helpful. So if you had name string is equal to capital B-O-B, and then you went upper string like this, name string is equal to the upper string version of name string. Print it out, you would get capital B, capital O, capital B. If you want to give that a whirl, you can just put this video on pause. VAL or val, this converts the string inside the bracket into a numerical value if it's a digit of digits, if not a string of digits. If not, it returns a 0. If there are any digits along with characters, it just simply returns the digit. So if you print 2 times the val of string 3.14, you would get, it converts the 3.14 to a number that you can then multiply by 2, and so on. CHR string and ASC string, these are opposite functions that deal with the ASCII code. ASCII stands for American Standard Code for Information Interchange. This allows characters to have a numerical equivalent. This allows computers that represent letters with numbers, which can be converted to binary code, which allows them to talk to each other. So ASCII is a sort of an old code type of thing where every letter is equal to a number. And I'm just going to call that up here and show you. I searched for ASCII table, and you can see here that every letter starting at code 65 to 90 is capital A to Z, starting with 97, small a to 122, and all the different characters as well, along with some control features like enter, lots of different things here that you'll probably never ever use. Now that the internet has linked computers globally, ASCII has been replaced with UTF-8, which allows for foreign characters. So such things like all of these different ones here will all have an individual numerical code that allows the computers to talk to each other. So CHR string converts the ASCII number to the equivalent letter or character, like print CHR string 77, will print an M, CHR string 34 prints the quotation marks, and so on. ASC is the opposite. It takes a character and converts it to the equivalent ASCII code number. So for example, here this is converting the capital A to a number 65. If the string is equal to Tim, it pulls out the first letter, and it would be code 84 because it's pulling out the, if the string is more than one character, only the value of the first character is returned. The ASCII table has values from 0 to 255, and as I showed you, 65 to 90 gives you A to Z. Capital 97 to 122 gives you lowercase a to Z. So it's a handy way to sort of represent letters with numbers. Trim string function removes any spaces from the start and end of the string and string expression. This can be used for cleaning up data entry, among other things. Does not remove spaces in the middle of string. So for example, if sentence string is space GREE space TINGS space, and you wanted to print the length of trim value of sentence string, and then print and trim some sentence string, you would get 10 because it's starting with the G. It would pull that space off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It would pull off the first space and the last space, but it would leave that one in the middle, just like this. Word string returns a single word out of a string of words. So for example, if you've got print word string, the quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog, comma 5, it's going to pick the 5th word. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to pick the word jumped. There is no assignment this lesson. I'd like you to take a few minutes to investigate on your own things like the ASCII table, the functions word string, trim string, CHR string, ASC, val, upper string, lower string. I've supplied some sample programs. See if you can get the computer to print this following. Take a little bit of time and work on that on your own. Here are some of the sample string programs. If you want to pause the video and try to type those, I've got these here. And there's also a bunch of ones posted online with a link where you can download some other sample ones and play with that and see what you can learn. And that is all for lesson 1.